Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. We had a really terrific start to the school year, and I just want to thank all of you for getting your children into school. I just can't believe the start that we had. It was incredible. So I just want to take you through today everything that we want you to know about Wampus coming into the new school year in a pandemic. And I just really want to continue to thank you. The kids have just been phenomenal with everything that we're asking them to learn in these early weeks of the school year. One of our big messages at Wampus when they transition from Coleman Hill up to Wampus is we really want to build a community of confident learners. They spend so much time at Coleman Hill learning really good habits and practices in terms of helping them to become safe, respectful, and responsible. And we look at these 3 years as really important transitional years, getting them ready for middle school and the second half of their educational journey in Byram Hills. So today, hopefully, as we go through this coffee, you'll see the different things that we expect of our children to help them become those independent, confident learners that we want them to be. In preparing for the return to school, every year we do a lot in terms of getting the schools ready to open. This year was like no other. And I have to thank our community for allowing us to open schools with all of the children here at Wampus being able to come into the school. I do think that the strength comes from our will to do greatness for our kids. And it's living proof in the last 2 weeks of what Mr. Mack and I and our district administrators, what everybody has seen. It's been incredible. So during the 2020-21 school year, we are focused on creating a flexible learning system with high academic standards. We learned a lot about e-learning in the spring, and there wasn't one day that we didn't learn something new about e-learning for our children at Wampus. When we reopened, we really spent the summer looking at how to make sure that we can deliver high academic standards in a blended learning environment, whether we're all in school or whether we're all out of school. And our teachers committed to this work all summer long. I do not think that there was a summer vacation for any of our teachers in this school year, this summer. Next to the blended learning system with high expectations is we really are making sure that the social, emotional, and learning needs of all our students are being met in a highly collaborative environment. I've been in the district for over 2 decades, and we really value collaboration. We value it with you. We value it with teacher to teachers and administrators. If there's something that you have in terms of questions for your child's social, emotional, or academic supports that you feel like you need, pick up the phone and call Mr. Mack or myself or your teacher, or your child's teacher. We're here for you, and we value that collaboration. And I speak for all of us in terms of how important collaboration is, and we welcome hearty, healthy discussions, all of it. Just reach out to us. We're here for you. The month of September. So if we look at the school year in 10 months, September is really the time that we practice the routines and procedures that allow our children to grow in that confidence, to develop that independence. If we don't lay the groundwork properly in September, the rest of the school year will not be as successful as we know and want it to be. This September, most of our children's learning in the last 2 weeks has been on the return to skill protocols. The health and safety of all of our children and all of us is our top priority, and we are taking our time, and our children are following our lead in making sure that they understand the protocols to keep themselves safe, their classmates safe, and everybody in the school safe, along with the community. The other thing that we've been doing in the month of September, outside of learning those return to school protocols, which are massive, is we've been implementing diagnostic assessments in English language arts and mathematics. And I'll get more into that as we go through these slides, but those have been the 2 big things we've been focused on in September. So arrival and dismissal, I feel like all across the county right now, we're hearing a lot about arrival and dismissal. The first day at our dismissal, we had over 200 cars. In a normal year, we have about 70 cars at our dismissal. So we do have a lot more cars this year that are arriving and dismissing from Wampus. For arrival, the arrival time starts at 8:25, and we really can't get the children into that classroom until 8:25 because of supervision. And we just ask everybody, if you're that first car with a child in the line, please pull all the way up. The system works when everybody is part of the system, and pulling all the way up to the very end of the circle helps us get more children into the building in an efficient manner. And it helps all of you help each other. When your children are coming up into the loop, make sure that they have their lunch, their backpack, but mostly their face masks. I feel like we often trip over the pebbles in life, and it's the littlest things that slow us down. So just make sure that they have their face masks on them. For our third graders, most importantly, but all our children, if you are late, if your child's late to school, they have to come through the main entrance, not through the fast lane entrances. So make sure that when you're dropping them off, you encourage them to come through the main entrance. The last thing we want to see is a child entering the building and being nervous when they come in to start their day. We want them to start their day with confidence and happiness. And our arrival is anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes. The month of September historically is the slowest arrival. We're developing those practices to help our children be independent. Arrival is the very first thing that we do in the day to foster that independence and that confidence so that they start to take pride in how they are growing as a person. We end the school day with dismissal. It is really important to Mr. Mack and myself that dismissal is calm and orderly, because those habits help our children carry that into other aspects of their life. We want them to leave Wampus at the end of the day feeling confident. And the way they do that is when we have a calm dismissal, we have an orderly dismissal, they know what to expect. The last 2 weeks, we've been averaging about 180 cars in the fast lane. Once we start to when we stop, it's about 30 minutes long. We've improved the system with the new QR codes, but it does take us some time with the QR codes, the volume of cars, and we have children who are walking to the fast lane from the very far end of the school, and Wampus is a very long school. It goes back far. So just be patient. If your child's not coming out, we're here for you. Just, stick your hand out the window. We'll come over. We will radio it in, but we will pull you all the way up to the very front end of the loop so that you're just not obstructing any other cars coming in and out. Some reminders that we've already sent out to you. The QR code, if it's not scanning, just make sure it's a 1 by 1 inch. And every day, just please make sure you're filling out the parent pickup form, and always have your ID on you. I want to talk to you about the cohort A and B when they're in 2 classrooms versus the cohort A and B when they're in 1 classroom. For the parents who have children in cohort A and B in 2 classrooms, here's a snapshot of their schedule. They come in at 8:25 for arrival, and depending on the grade level, so I'm just using 1 grade level right now. This is 4th grade. If they're in 4th grade, they do have encore at 8:35. When they come back from encore at 9:25, they are with their teacher for ELA guided instruction, or they are with their teacher aide for the ELA independent skills and practice. At 10:15, the teacher and the teacher aide switch. So the child now is either with the teacher for the ELA, with the teacher aide for the ELA independent skills and practice, or they're with the teacher for the ELA guided practice. Then they'll have their snack. And again, snack right now, we're developing the procedures and the routines for how to have a healthy snack while staying safe, being mindful of the social distancing protocols that we have to. So that's taking some time right now, our snacks. At specials, our special teacher will come into the classroom, and her and the teacher aide will implement, again, a direct instruction lesson from the specials teacher or a guided practice lesson from the teacher aide. Then the children have lunch. The lunch happens in the classroom. Then they have their afternoon, which is their math guided practice or with the teacher, or their math independent skills and practice with the teacher aide. And then the next period, they have their math independent skills practice with the teacher aide or their guided practice. Their ELA instruction is about 90 minutes long, and their math instruction is about 60 minutes long. So there's in that time for math, there's also a lot more practicing of different technology platforms, social distancing protocols. They're embedding many of that stuff in different minutes throughout the math front end or back end of the math lesson. At 3:05, we dismiss. Our children are really efficient at getting ready for dismissal, and that's because of the 3 years they spent at Coleman Hill practicing that habit. So continue at home to foster that independence of packing up and unpacking their backpacks. They should do it now. You should not. They should put their lunch bag in their backpack or however they carry it. You should not. Again, it's fostering that independence. Cohort A and cohort B in 2 rooms. So here's an example of how they look. On the left, you see a teacher with the children in cohort A, and at the same time, you see a teacher aide facilitating that learning in cohort B. The children have just been remarkable in embracing the shift in the learning from the guided practice to the independent practice. All of our children, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, have begun the year practicing how to get into Google Classroom, how to understand that platform. So if in the event we do have to close, our children are prepared. That we learned from e-learning in the spring. We want our children to be prepared for that. If your child is in cohort A and B in one classroom, they are together, but we have these large spaces, and that's how we were able to really fully open. We used every space in the building. So we have some children in the library, in the cafeteria, in our creative arts space, in our technology, in our hub. Those children, they follow a similar schedule. It's just that they're doing their guided practice and their independent practice in a block, but we don't have to block it out for a schedule for our teacher aides and our teachers to switch. It happens organically in the classroom because they're all together. That was a picture of the library. So lunchtime, you can see our children. They take their masks off when they eat lunch, but when they're done eating and before they begin eating, they keep their masks on. Throughout the day, from the time they arrive to the time they end, our teachers have built in plenty of time for movement, breaks, and play. This will continue to get stronger and stronger as the return to school protocols for safety and health become more intrinsic to our children. But right from the get-go, our teachers were getting our children movement breaks and time for play. I expect in the coming weeks, we will see a shift as we see and we trust that our children really understand the protocols that we had to teach them, on top of which, they're protocols that we're all teaching ourselves too. This is all new to all of us. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you now about 3 important, 2 shifts in our curriculum and 1 enhancement in our curriculum because of what we learned from e-learning in the spring and how we spent most of our summer for curriculum and instruction and assessments. The district purchased a platform, really listening to so many of you and so many of our teachers. It's called iReady. We sent a letter home to you on September 3rd explaining iReady. Basically, iReady is an adaptive assessment platform, and we're using it in the area of ELA and in math. We can administer this assessment in school and at home. The last 2 weeks at Wampus, we administered this assessment to all our children. The assessment is adaptive because it automatically will adjust based on the child's responses. So the questions will get more difficult for the child. So the 2 children sitting next to each other could have very different questions based on how they're answering the questions. After the children are administered the assessment, we will get targeted instruction that will be assigned to children or groups of children so that they can progress in mastering each skill that they need to master as they go through the year. This will help them if we need to backfill from some of the content from the prior year, or if we need to compact and we need to go ahead. This platform will enable us to do this with our children. The learning on the platform, even with the assessment, is interest-based. So I know Dr. Kaltenecker spent a lot of time helping administer the assessments at Wampus. You could see the high interest that went into creating this platform. The children were engaged throughout the whole assessment. It almost, my feeling on watching it was the children were having fun with the assessments. Our ELA and our math curriculum, we made a decision this summer to move to a platform for ELA that is a comprehensive literacy curriculum that can be in school and at home. So it has a very large and robust digital platform. It's called Wonders. We are still in the early stages of it, but you will see more and more work for ELA coming from a program that is called Wonders. And our children will have access, whether in school or at home, to complex fiction, nonfiction texts, and really the whole range of ELA for our children in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and for all children. Investigations, it's the math program that we've used for the last 4 years. It's inquiry-based. There's many, it really is all about children constructing meaning about how they understand the math concepts. And when we go into e-learning, if we go into e-learning, you will see more synchronous teaching from investigations. It's not the kind of program that you would want to just push out lessons to children. You'll see more live teaching with investigations and in a short snippet of time, 5 to 10 minutes on a direct instruction for investigations. So if you look, here's just different snapshots into our classrooms. You can see, you see Chromebooks, you see children reading, you see children, doing artwork. The children really are embracing this new type of learning. And when I walk through the halls, you do see a lot of learning going on, different than in years past. But the children are really focused, and the teachers are really doing a great job of being very explicit and clear and making the most of the time that they have with children. And these are just more snapshots. Up on the upper right, you see children playing, doing their music lessons in the classroom with the music teacher. Our teachers are taking children outside for academics in our learning spaces. So I'm just trying to give you a snapshot into what you can see, because I know you can't come into the classrooms and we wanted you to see them. So even in the face of the coronavirus, it's really important that WAMPUS is still fostering that sense of community. And it is our number one goal this year that we support our children as they transition from a world of dependence to a world of independence. And you probably saw in the last couple of years with your own children, they slowly started doing things more independently. And that's an evolution, and that is our goal, that by the time they leave us in 5th grade, when we see them walking to town in 6th grade, we're confident that we've given them the skills they need to be independent, and they have the responsibility to do those things, and we trust them. A large part of that grows from the social interactions that they have with their friends, and also the academic experiences that they might struggle with, because all of that builds confidence in them. And if children have confidence, they know how to be courageous, and they know how to advocate for themselves, whether they're in a social setting or in an academic setting. As their time at WAMPUS comes to an end, we want them to have been able to feel that sense of accomplishment that they've had over the last 30 months. We praise them when we see them persevering through a challenge. We encourage them to find courage when they're dealing with a social conflict. If something's not sitting well with you at home with a social conflict, call us. We will talk to you, and we likely will talk to your child too, and give them the skills they need to overcome that fear and deal with that social conflict in the best way they know how. And we will support them right through, because the social conflicts today are going to be small compared to the social conflicts they encounter as they travel through life. So we want to give them those skills. We wrapped up our 2nd week of school last week with a community meeting to our children. We did it through a Google Meet. And we will continue to have our community meetings, because Mr. Mack and I do feel that the skills, the soft messages we're giving them in the community meets are really about the behaviors and the attitudes we want them to have for themselves, so that they can tackle the little challenges that come their way while feeling really good about who they are as people. And I just found this quote. I do think that when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And I'm really just so proud of our children and our teachers and our district office administrators for helping us. Mr. Mack and I every day look around like, we are doing this. All our children are here. We want to keep them all here. And we couldn't keep them all here without your partnership with us. And I keep telling the children, we're going to look back on this time in history, and we're going to say we lived through it, and we got through it, and we actually made greatness out of it. And so I thank you for that.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Thank you so much, Peggy. I just want to join this meeting to share a few things. First of all, I appreciate everything you say about getting these kids into school every single day. This morning I was outside at WAMPUS, and I said to some of the kids, one day you're going to look back and say, remember when we used to have to jump on those blue dots before we could get into school and stay socially distanced and wear masks? And they said, yeah, one day we're going to say that. I said, I now say, remember the days before cell phones and before the internet? Because that's something that wasn't around when I was a kid, and they were laughing. But, just keeping these kids motivated, seeing smiling faces to come into school and to learn every day. We all learned from e-learning, and we learned from our past experiences that having students physically present in school is the best thing that we could be doing for them right now, socially, emotionally, and academically. So I know that this required a lot of effort on everyone's parts, but it also required a lot of effort on the part of parents to become familiar with what we're doing and the routines and how we're doing that, and to trust us with your children to come in, and also to be active partners with us. I did send an email out the other day about a COVID case occurring at WAMPUS, and indicated to parents that The protocol would only be that people will be notified in the event that you are actually affected by a COVID positive case. And we were very fortunate in the case that we had, that we were out of school for a number of days before the person became symptomatic, before they ever got tested. The Department of Health gave us more than clearance that nobody else needed to be notified because of the duration of time between the time the person was in school and the time they started to become symptomatic. That was a unlucky for the person who had COVID, but lucky case for the school district. And not all of the cases are going to run like that. Every day we are looking at kids who potentially have symptoms, who are going to doctors, who are getting COVID tests, who are coming back with COVID negative and strep positive or whatever the case may be. And we're taking it case by case. I appreciate so much. I really only received one parent email that said that, they felt that I should be letting everyone know about every single case in the school district. I appreciate that others didn't ask that because that can't be an ask at this point. Know that Department of Health swoops down when we have any indication of a positive case. We, in preparation for this the other day, you should have seen what was happening while we were waiting to get clearance. The district was in full operations mode with identifying every single person that may have been in contact with that person and what we were going to have to do and systems to do specific shutdowns. We were all ready to do that when the Department of Health said, you have by far cleared the number of days that you would ever need for that person to have infected others. But, the school has to rally and get prepared for those things to make sure that everybody's safe. And I appreciate so much that you understand this relationship that I have to have with the Department of Health. There are numerous times in the course of a day that we learn of someone. We've had numerous cases, people going to doctors, people getting COVID negative tests and other positive diagnoses for other things and coming back to school. This is unfortunately the thing that is going to occupy our time every day, all day, in an effort to keep kids in school and to keep them safe. But I think if parents can remember that in March, we closed school about a week before everybody else did because we didn't deem it safe. We did not have Department of Health clearance or New York State Education Department clearance to do that. We chose to do that based on the number of calendar days and knowing that we had a cushion in there to do it. And we do now. So we would never be putting people in harm's way. And I just want to thank the community for your confidence in us to do that. You know that I am a doctor of letters, not a doctor of medicine. I rely wholly on the Department of Health, on Thomas Murray, who is the Associate Director of Pediatric Immunology at Yale, who responds to me like in minutes, to Dr. Stumacher, to Lori Dyer and Melissa Price, both doctors as well, who, in addition to Dr. Casaro, our school physician, we keep in contact with them when we have questions to make sure we're getting it right. And I appreciate your confidence in us that we are doing that. And I'm not going to make a decision at my own discretion. I'm going to make a decision that is warranted based on Department of Health. So thanks everybody for your support with that. There will be more cases, and it has to be unsettling for a parent to say there might be a case of a child or an adult in my child's school who's COVID positive. Why don't I know about this? Why can't I trace whether I think that has affected my child? Trust me that we will not let a bus monitor, a bus driver, a lunch monitor, anyone go who may have had contact with a COVID positive person. And just thanks for your support with that, because this is even more grueling for us than the preparation of school. It's easy to put these plans in place and walk around and make sure they're implemented. It's another thing entirely to be dealing with outside organizations to make sure we're doing it right. We are doing our very best. So I want to thank you for your support with that. I would say to parents, if you have concerns, I think you've known me long enough that you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Peggy. You can reach out to Dave. If you have any specific questions about things that are happening in school or about how we're even facing these COVID situations, if it's helpful to you as a parent to talk it through, to get a sense of confidence of how we are managing these, I'm happy to do that at any time. Just email me and we will have that discussion. I'm not sure that there are any questions to answer regarding this. It is what it is. We're going to take each case as we can. We are very fortunate that we had a 4-day weekend. Not sure if we will in the future, but hopefully. So we're in our 3rd week of school, and as Peggy said, with a very positive approach to managing these kids. My confidence comes from going into the school buildings, and yes, children are children. So every once in a while, I'll drive by a building and I'll see some kids outside who are taking a mask break at lunch or something, and they're not socially distancing and they don't have masks on. And we have to be reminding them that that is what our role is. And I know that our administrators and our teachers are walking around monitoring that daily. But, and I recall last summer when we had a COVID positive case during our summer school program, and not one other student or adult became infected with COVID after they spent every day, all day in the same room together. It told me that the PPE and the precautions and the social distancing that we're putting into place were effective in that case, and hopefully are effective moving forward. So I think at this time, Peggy, you're still here. I would like to introduce Pete. I don't know if you want to throw your face up there, but we do have a new addition to our Byram Hills family. People probably know by now that Deepak Marwa, who was the director of fine arts, moved over to New Rochelle School District. And we were very fortunate in our search to be finding Pete Pollux as our new director of fine arts, K through 12. You have all seen Pete at Wampus every day. He's been there at arrival and dismissal in helping out, as all administrators have been. Pete comes to us with extensive experience in both public education and a not-for-profit, in providing music programs to hundreds of school districts, districts all over New York City, and starting in where he lived, and just a really breadth of K-12 experience. So we're so happy to have Pete here. Pete, I was wondering if you wanted to introduce yourself. Yeah. So I was hoping you could just give us a little sense of a little bit of your background, if you could share with everyone, and then B, talk a little bit about what you've seen so far in your walks around our buildings and your discussions with your teachers.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I just want to say I'm so delighted to be here. Byram is such a special place, and I am at such a weird time, but I have to tell you, watching the teachers in action and the administrators with their plan they put in place, it's incredible. As Dr. Lamia said, I've come from an extensive background in education. I have spent my career in education. I began as a high school teacher. I taught high school marching band, concert band, jazz band, the whole 9 yards for about 10 years. And I ran a national nonprofit for about 10 years, building comprehensive and sequential music instruction programs in New York City and across the country. I spent some time as an administrator, as an assistant principal in the Bronx prior to coming to Byram Hills. What I've seen since I've gotten here has been incredible. This is a really precarious time, particularly for music education and arts education. And so, I wish I could say to you, we've got all these events planned and all these things happening. I will tell you there's a lot happening, but it's very, very different. And what it's caused us to do is to reimagine really what we're doing with arts education. And it makes us reflect on why we teach arts in the first place. Why are art and music education required by the state? Why does Byram Hills put such an emphasis on arts education? And at the end of the day, we teach the arts because they teach kids to think. The critical thinking and the cognitive development that happens in the arts classroom, where kids are making choices and they're making decisions and they're synthesizing data. That's why we teach the arts. And this piece, this COVID piece, has had a tremendous impact on the way that we teach the arts. And so we're keeping our eye on the ball. We're making sure that the critical thinking, the cognitive development is still where our focus is. And it actually takes a little bit of the pressure off of the performance-oriented piece, because it's sometimes easy to fall into that trap where we're driving to the performance. So I will tell you that the teachers that I have seen, I've observed in the classroom and spoken to at length, they are, they're beside themselves, because they are trying to come up with the most innovative and creative strategies to engage children in thinking. And so I'm so blessed to be at Byram Hills. I think that you would be so thrilled if you saw what's happening in the classrooms, and I invite you to reach out if you are curious. Know that it's going to take us some time to recover. When we look at the instrumental program, kids aren't playing instruments. We didn't begin 4th and 5th grade ensembles this year for band and orchestra, and that's going to have an impact. However, we are building skills in other ways. And so when the time is right and it is safe for everybody, we will continue in that direction, and we will continue with the excellence that Byram Hills has always stood for in terms of arts education. So I thank you for letting me come in and chat today. So Dr. Lamia, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, I want to ask a question, Pete. We had a question in the chat about instrumental lessons and something done virtually with the kids while we are awaiting that time where we could be doing this back in school. Do
Sure.
you know where we are with the progress on that?
Yes, so we're looking at instruction. We have some computer-assisted instruction programs that will help guide students and with the support of the teacher. We think about the grades 6 through 12. They are going to be looking at some outside instruction, some outside playing here before the weather changes, particularly at the high school. The students inside are playing on the stringed instruments because it's a different ball of wax, but they are socially distanced. They are not sharing stands. There are individual places set up for every child. So they are at a distance and we are safe. We will be going out this week to put some marks in the bleachers and things for Mr. Kinsey and some of the wind players, the concert band piece at the high school. So that's what we're looking at. In terms of lessons, they are seeing students in small group lessons. And so some of that is taking place more like a master class where students are able to watch this particular student rehearse a passage and then address that and talk about those issues or developments so we can all learn from that experience. Does that answer your question?
How are we fitted with smart music right now and some of those options for parents to be doing or students to be doing at home?
Sure. So smart music is an intelligent accompaniment program that allows the students to play sort of with a full sense of instrumentation. The program has been purchased. It has been downloaded. We're still waiting on one teacher subscription, but all in all, the student profiles are being set up. It's the same login as information as last year, so they should be able to rock and roll with that.
Okay, Pete, how long have you actually been with us?
Since the 24th of August.
Okay, nice work so far.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
As all parents will note, if you're pulling up to these buildings, that you're seeing administrators outside of these buildings who ordinarily would not be helping expedite this process. But especially at the elementary level, we have so many kids coming in and socially distanced. So we just need more hands on deck. So thank you, Pete. And parents, certainly reach out to Pete with an email in the coming days if you have any other questions about music.
And introduce yourself when I see you at Wampus.
And then there's another question about, can the children do e-learning in their regular classes if they had to go into quarantine? Yes, that is our plan. Every situation will look different, kind of how Jen was explaining the situation from last week. As soon as we know of anything that needs to happen like that, we will communicate that to the plan, and schedules for e-learning will go into place. How those schedules look for e-learning will really be dependent on the situation we find ourselves in terms of what the quarantine looks like and who the quarantine is affecting. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Mr. Mack. And I just want to thank all of you for coming today, but Mr. Mack's going to speak a little.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks to everybody for coming today. We had a nice turnout. I just wanted to reiterate one thing that Peggy had mentioned in the beginning. As we go through this and we continue to learn together, and we help the children understand the return to school protocols, and we adjust things if necessary, call your teacher, call Peggy and myself. There's going to be individual questions that you have, concerns, ideas, whatever it is. Just pick up the phone and call us. And I'm not just saying that to say it. I mean it. As everyone said, we're learning this together. Keep coming to us with different things, and the kids, you should just be so proud of these kids. They're so young and they're courageous and they're here and they're doing it. So we're very proud of them. I know you are. And like I said, just call us with any questions or concerns. And I think, we have one more question from Jessica Bond. If you are open to the idea of having a parent group partner with you around feedback development of Wampus music program, I think you'd find a lot of genuine and productive interest. So Pete, that's for you. Great. Pete responded. Thank you very much. And I think that's it for our Principal's Coffee for today. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. And if you're picking your child up, we'll see you at 2:57. And if not, they'll be on the bus home today. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.